specifically, comments regarding personal matters are discouraged and cannot be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The board bears no responsibility, nor will it be the liability for any comments made by members of the public. If a matter concerning a district staff member is of interest or concern to a resident, the matter should be referred to the responsible building principal, superintendent of the schools, or the Board of Education, either by telephone, letter, or email. Although the board may not respond to items raised during the public forum, all public comments will be considered. Please note that if any member of the public becomes disruptive during the board meeting, the board president may terminate participant statement. Continued disruptions may result in removal from the meeting or adjournment of the meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, as always. Does anybody wish to address the board? Yeah, and I'm sorry, we made a mistake with the coordination of that. That's my fault.
It's not on.
It's not on, but can you hear me?
Can you turn it on?
Should be a slide or...
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
no.
Okay, so my questions relate to the emails I sent since the last BOE meeting, so I think there's 4 total. The first one, regarding the motion for the BOE attorney to prepare an ethics violation complaint against another member. So I sent an email on 5/27 questioning the validity or legality of the motion, as well as the use of the BOE attorney. As for nj.gov, and that's the nj.gov/education/ethics/comp form, any person might file a complaint with the School Ethics Commission, but as an entity, it may not file a complaint, although individual members of the board may file. So, having said that, the question is, given the law, given this rule, can the board agree that the motion was invalid and that the BOE attorney will not be paid to pursue this motion? And if Mr. Chinchulli wishes to pursue this on his own, which he's perfectly, allowed to do, can you please outline the basis of the complaint? Or is this something that will need like an over request for? I mean, I don't know the process, so I'm just asking. And then, again, with respect to the BOE attorney, is the BOE attorney being paid for the 2 hours she was present during the teacher and retirement ceremony? Okay. Second question. This is regarding the correspondence on the budget cut clarification. So this originated on May 19th, as Ms. Kapuscinski sent the board an email questioning the clarification of budget cuts for school supplies, line items totaling $240,000. And I'll read out the questions. If these cuts were reasonably made, has there been a compensation for the loss of supplies, materials, and textbooks in other areas? Who's part of the process responsible for making cuts? Who decides what cuts get and who decides what gets cut and how much? Was the administration and or teaching staff part of the process of making cuts? If so, when and how were they involved? On May 25th, I asked for a response to the question at the Board of Ed meeting, and Mr. D'Aquila responded that nothing was cut. On May 26th, I sent a follow-up to ask the board and Mr. D'Aquila to explain which numbers in the analysis were incorrect to make the statement nothing was cut accurate. On Thursday, June 2nd, there was a response from Mr. D'Aquila to Ms. Kapuscinski, who said that a response from me on the budget will come once I'm ready to share. So the question is, Mr. D'Aquila, when will you be ready to share the analysis? And I guess why is it taking so long? Like, what information did you have at the time of you making that statement that you had to support the statement that nothing was cut? So I guess the fundamental issue for me is that the response was not based on appears to have not been based on any data. And because if it was, it wouldn't take so long to formulate the response. So it just makes me wonder about the due diligence the board takes in making the decisions and answering the questions. Okay. Next question. On the theme of budget, May 19th, email to the board about costs per student analysis that Dr. Farger had put together. Carly replied that she wasn't sure if it was completed or not. So if the analysis is accurate, it does indeed show the highest cost per student relative to nearby districts, even as school supplies are being cut. I would think the board would be very concerned about this. So the question is the board taking steps to review the analysis? And if not, why? Why not? And finally, the question around equipment. So it seems like Mr. McKinney's the only one who has this information, and he hasn't been at he wasn't at the last meeting, and he's not at this meeting. So, and the last update we had was back in April. Does the board have any response to what is taking so long, and when will this equipment for the Zoom meetings be available? I have some other general comments, but
I did not time it, so I'm going to ask you to give me a chance to answer and then let another resident. With regard to the first item, I will not make any comments on that going forward. On the budget cut clarification, I asked about it and said I was assured it was not cut. The reason why I have not answered it is because I want to see it myself. Because if I'm going to give an answer and say, I want to be able to look at it myself. I work full time and also have a family at night, so I have not had an opportunity to do that. I will have an answer. My goal is trying to get it by the next board meeting to be able to do that. I want to make sure when I got the information from Business Administration Office that it wasn't. I want to see it. I want to understand it. But I will be honest with you, I'm also a full-time employee and also father of 3, and I just did not have a chance to finish it. I want to make sure when I say the answer back correctly, I can point to the budget, the line, and everything to say why that's not correct and maybe me misinterpreted. That's why I want to make sure I am saying that exactly correct. So that's that. Cost per student evaluation, I don't have an answer. I don't know. I have to talk to Dr. Varley on that. And as far as the equipment Zoom, I will have an update at the next meeting to understand what's going on with it. So again, I do not have an answer. I haven't talked to Dr. McKinney. So I don't have an answer for that tonight.
Okay. So if I still have time?
Can we let,
yes.
I didn't time it.
Hi.
1 second. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, I'm Micheal D'Aquila from Berkeley. I have a child at Micheal and a child at Berkeley. So I came up here a couple more meetings ago to ask about kind of the decline in the performance of the schools based on U.S. World News and World Reports. I'm like, wait a minute, something's missing. We went from like 37th to 90th between 2010 and the most recent one. And Mr. McKinney had said, well, we don't really look at those numbers, but we do have numbers. And he did share those numbers with me, which I think, hey, having the numbers is one part of the battle. But the fact of the matter is I only have in front of me 2016. But basically, the math program at the high school is a business. And in my opinion, school's #1 focus should be teaching our children, all of our children. It does seem like the kids who are getting an AP education are doing well. But what about the rest? So, there's all of this data that's being followed, and, we're at the top on some of them, like participation rate on the SATs. Well, they get it in school, so, let's not pat ourselves on the back on that. Or graduation rate. Again, I don't actually think the administration and the teachers have anything to do with that. We're in a higher socioeconomic town. Most parents are going to make their kids go through high school. What I do think we need to be focusing on is educating our kids. English, math, science, social studies. We're doing a pretty piss-poor job of doing that in math and science, and we've known it since 2016. In the private sector, if I told my boss, I need the next 6 to 10 years to turn my performance around, they throw me out so fast, you wouldn't be able to blame me. So, I'm here to implore the board to put the administration's feet to the fire and to question the narrative. That leads me to my next thing. I want to applaud Dr. Farger and Mrs. D'Aquila because they seem to be the only ones consistently questioning the narrative, whether it be the budget, the performance for the actual thing that the school is supposed to be 100% responsible for, educating our children. And I really, really hope that the Board of Education gets their house in order.
Okay, ma'am, you're way over the time, please. Can we wrap it up? Can we wrap it up? No, just wrap it up.
So, I guess, let's stop the infighting. Let's look at diverse opinions and diverse people, like we say we're going to teach our children to do, with respect, and answer questions when someone has a difference of opinion, rather than sitting lawyers on them.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address?
Mike?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not to like open up a conversation on that. The USC is one report. The methodology, I look at that too. I've got to get it at high school. It includes, standardized testing in JSLA from the last 2 years when there has been no NJSLA. I'm not discounting it wholesale. I'm with you. But I think it's an issue. They look at it, but
or the board.
well, no, I mean, Scott is talking about LinkedIn and other data sources, which I think we have to, because we don't have the data we had of prior to the last 2 years. So I just think that I'm not discounting the U.S. News & World Report. I don't think we can, but I also think that it is the gold standard that it once was, at least during COVID.
I look at his numbers
Yeah.
that he is basing,
Fine.
whether Berkeley Heights is doing well or not. and
No, we
not
got,
showing the board.
okay, so we got the comments, and I would like to talk to Dr. Garley and Mr. Scott.
Mike,
How we respond to that, so, yes, ma'am.
If I can say, I think what Tisha is saying is the proficiency test numbers speak for themselves for the
Okay.
last 10 years, and they are dropping. And we need to have a plan on why these proficiency test numbers are dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And the New Jersey State Department of Ed has a goal for our proficiency test. To get us to that percentage, we need to have a plan.
Okay.
And I think that's the plan we need to put up on our website or ask our administration to present.
Okay,
Thank you.
understood. Thank you.
I'd love to see numbers that show principal performance in 2016.
Okay. I understand. Okay, please, let me run the meeting.
I'm just talking like, if we're going to talk about it, data would be important, and we have not had a 10-year review.
All right, please, this is not, we have received,
I think, again, this board has not been presented, nor has there been
It's on
a
the
public.
website.
I'm just saying, that 10 years, 6 years, so I do think we need to be straight with what data we're looking at. There have been a lot of presentations in the last 2 years. I've been in this board a year and a half, but I think tell a not entirely different picture, but a pretty interesting picture about what has happened, especially this school year. So we should be all inclusive as to that data.
Right.
That's what we're saying.
all right, let's, I was,
Is
all right.
he giving the back and forth?
That's what I'm asking to everyone to please stop and let me run the meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
If you don't agree, you get shut down.
This is not a back and forth forum. That's what I'm saying. We let you make your statement without any interruption. I let you give you extra time. That's why I'm asking everyone, board and residents, to please let me run the meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
Erica Pedraza, Berkeley Heights. I'm sorry, what did you say? Erica Pedraza, P-E-D-R-A-Z. So I've got about a dozen questions related to two topics. So the Is the plan to track every single social networking website, blog, or bulletin board to determine if a board member has joined and is active? Who will take the time to monitor every board member's posts and activities? Number 2, regarding the guidelines, the list of 1 to 10 items that are in the policy, it states that the superintendent and board members can identify any activities on social networks that violate the board's policies or ethics acts. How do you determine that it is in fact a violation? Number 3, it is also stated in the policy guide that the board member may be requested to cease activity by the board or the superintendent. What does cease activity mean? Is the board member no longer allowed to use social networks? Next one. Why does the superintendent have any say in this at all? The superintendent does not govern the board, and the board does not work for the superintendent. Also, why is the superintendent not subject to these policy guidelines? If she is able to call out other board members, why is she not on the list? So that has to do with the social networking. Do you want to answer those questions before I go on
No,
to the
you
next
can,
topic?
please give all your
Okay.
questions.
The next topic has to do with the motion that was passed last meeting to bring an ethics complaint against a single board member. Based on what I've heard, the request was that the attorney would put together the complaint specifics. First question, will the money to pay the attorney be for the complaint, to put together the complaint, be coming out of the school budget? If your answer to that question is yes, why do you all think it's okay to take money away from the things that should be going to our children? And why is it that any individual on the board cannot submit their own complaint? Why are they wasting, I wrote this in the third person, okay. Why are you wasting our tax dollars and money that's intended for our children to do so? It would really be awesome, really be great, if you all stopped the infighting. It's not productive, it's counterproductive, and it doesn't help our children. So it would be really great if you guys can focus on the most important thing, which is our children's education.
Thank you. With regard to the board policy, I am not able to answer those questions right now. I did write them down, and if anything, I will be able to advise next week at the next board meeting. So I'm not in a position to answer those right now. And with regard to the motion, I am not commenting on that anymore.
You're not commenting on where money's coming from?
I'm not commenting on that subject.
Why is that?
I'm not commenting on that subject
Because,
I'm not commenting on that subject.
okay, good to know.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Dipti Khanna. I have middle schooler. Dipti Khanna. I have a middle schooler and I have a third grader in the school district.
Tilt the microphone down a little bit.
It's on. Better?
Yes. Thank you.
I have questions on 2 topics. The first one is the proposed social media policy. One of the clauses of the social media policy references derogatory and defamatory. There's a clause that talks about that. So my question is, who gets to define what derogatory or defamatory is? And if somebody puts out a statistic that doesn't show the school district in a good light, referencing the last question where our schools are dropping, would you consider that a violation of that clause?
Is that your only questions?
The second question I have is, over the last weekend, there was an incident that involved one of the BOE members. The member then went to social media and blasted a post, content that was targeted for 10,000 members. They preached how it's good for the community to come together. That's an excellent idea. But they left out the part where they were themselves involved in the incident. Would you consider that a violation of the proposed social media policy? My second list of questions is related to the ethics complaint. I realize you guys are not going to comment, and that's fine. I'm going to ask anyways. When the motion yes to the motion. So without the motion, without the explanation of what the ethics complaint was, and unless people are mind readers here, how did each board member who was approving the motion know what they were approving? How did you guys know that you were approving the same thing? I'm going to repeat something that was said already. For the School Ethics Commission rules, the board as an entity is not allowed to file an ethics complaint. So what was the purpose of the motion? And the last question is, how many tax dollars have been spent so far in pursuit of this ethics complaint? Thank you.
So with regard to the social media, again, I am not in a position to answer that answer right now. I'm not going to give an answer without knowing and getting more facts and information, make sure what I'm stating is correct. And as far as the incident with the board in class, I can't comment on that. I don't know what the social media post was. I didn't see it.
Okay, so can I request you to take a look at what it is? This was referenced by a mayor's statement that came out, I think, last night. Is the BOE going to put out a statement in response to what the mayor put out?
I don't even know what the mayor put out.
Okay, I would request you to take a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Peter Kocher, so this is going to touch on something that, related to what you said. You're not making a comment right now. But I recall last year we had a board member who stated during one of the meetings that, and I'm going to quote, the board member said, "I think as a board we need to draw a line between someone in the public expressing an opinion or disagreement in a comment that is purposefully made to be offensive and inciting. And as a board member, I'm not comfortable with allowing certain comments to be made from the public." So, first of all, who defines what's inciting and offensive? But so my question is, given that statement was made last year, and given what we saw last time, that the supposed sort of purpose around the investigation being that we need to protect the board, what was done last year to protect the board given the statement that I just cited?
I don't even recall that statement. Who's made that statement? I don't know. I don't recall the statement. I can't comment. I don't recall the statement.
Okay. Do you want to do some investigation and look it up? I can give you the dates.
If you want to give me dates,
Sure. I believe the meeting was on September 23rd, 2021.
I'm sorry, say again?
September 23rd, 2021. And the reason I'm pointing this out is it seems to me the board is being very selective as far as what's pursued and what's not. I would imagine this statement that I just cited opens up the board to a liability as far as First Amendment. So if someone's going to take action based on what was mentioned last meeting, I don't see how this could have been let go last year.
All right. Do you have any context versus watching a whole meeting? You quoted it where you said this was made in the meeting. When during the meeting, or
As far as a specific time,
if a range of time?
I believe this is 4 hours, 44 minutes into the meeting.
4 hours,
4 hours, 44 minutes.
44 minutes.
Yep.
Thank you for saving me 4 hours and 43 minutes.
Thank you. So yeah, please have a look at that, and I'd like to hear what you think about that.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments before we go into executive session?
I have, if I may, I have a comment from another parent that I would like to read. It's not mine. If that's
One last session, please. Yeah, one. If you're, then we'll go ahead and do executive session business.
This is from Virginia Delaware, and she reserved for that I'm reading. So, she said, I heard about the incident at the lawn party. I have one question. Will the DOE attorney be again solicited to defend the DOE if the parent presses charges? Can this DOE in general refocus on the children educational needs, curriculum, and bringing the ranking of PH up from 89th place, rather than having altercations with people who disagree with them or people who they accuse of doing wrong things. Can the BOE learn to work together again? When some BOE members are asking questions on documents and information, can the others stop seeing this as an aggression or a problem, but rather as a sign of due diligence and checking information?
Thank you. I can't answer that question. I don't want to answer. Okay. Adjournment to executive session. And Tom, it's been fixed. Tom? What? The resolution is now fixed.
Oh, just a minute.
Trust me.
Yes.
Whereas the Berkeley Heights Board of Education seeks adjournment to executive session in full compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10:4-6 Act. I always get this wrong. And whereas the Open Public Meeting Act provides that a public body may exclude the public from that portion of the meeting at which it discusses matter related to those identified below, matters rendered confidentially by federal law, state law, or rule, individual privacy, collective bargaining agreements, purchase or lease of real property if public interest could be adversely affected, investment of public funds if public interest could be adversely affected, tactics or techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property, pending or anticipated litigation, attorney-client privilege, personnel, employee matters affecting specific prospective or current employees. Be it resolved that the Board of Education adjourns to executive session to discuss matters related to personnel, and be it further resolved that the minutes of the discussion of any of these items will be disclosed to the public when matters have been determined and confidentially is no longer applicable. Before I have a motion, when we return from exec session, we will be adjourning as there's no further action being taken tonight. So do I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Julie? Or can we just do it as a... All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you. We will only be coming out to adjourn only when we're done with exec session. Thank you, everybody.